Hi, it's Margaret, and thank you so much for joining me here on The Gardening Me. Today, it's all about lobelia. I am going to be sowing some lobelia today, and I'll show you exactly how I do that. But in addition, what I'll do is I'll show you step by step last year what happened after I sowed them, when they germinated, when I potted them up, and basically all the steps until I got them outside. So why don't we get started, and let's talk about the different varieties that I have here first. Now, these two varieties here I talked about in my last video, and that was my seed haul video from William Dam. And here we have a couple of varieties. One of them, this guy here, Regatta Mix, I did grow last year. So you're going to see exactly what it looks like once it starts flowering. This is a new to me variety I haven't grown before. This one is called Masterpiece Blue. And the description on here says it's early blooming. It has large flowers for a lobelia, and it had really good garden performance for them, both in containers and when they planted it in the landscape. This grows to be about 12 inches tall, and I believe it's more of a mounding one. Now, the Regatta Mix is multiple colors. Obviously, Masterpiece Blue is a deep blue color. This one had a variety of different colors, including blues and whites and pinks and reddish magenta colors. And this one is a trailing variety of lobelia, and it is more heat tolerant than other varieties of lobelia. And then the last one is Riviera Marine Blue. I still had some seeds left over from last year. I did grow this one last year as well, and it as well is a mounding lobelia. It gets to be about 6 inches tall, and once again, it also has some good heat tolerance. Now, lobelia will sometimes go dormant in the middle of the summer if you have a lot of heat and a lot of sun. So especially if you put it in a full sun spot, it may kind of die back a bit in the middle of summer and then come back in the fall when the temperatures get cooler. These varieties that are more heat resistant are less likely to do that, or if they do, perhaps their dormancy will be a little bit shorter than the standard lobelia varieties. So let's start sowing. So I am going to be using these guys, and these are what I refer to as large 4-cell packs. The idea behind using these is that I will be basically sowing several seeds in each cell, and then those seeds will be transplanted as a clump into my pot later on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to fill these guys up with soil. Just move this over here. I have here my ProMix HP, and I've moistened it up so it is good to go. And I am just going to fill these guys up. So here we are. Let's do one at a time here. I'm going to start with this one. This is Masterpiece Blue. So this is one I have not grown before. Lobelia seeds are teeny tiny, and William Dam sells all of the varieties that they sell as pelleted seed. And what that means is it's coated in, it's sort of like a cornstarchy kind of mixture, and it makes the seeds much easier to handle. What I noticed last year when I sowed the seeds was that each pellet seemed to contain more than one seed. I sowed 4 or 5 seeds in each cell, but I definitely had more germination than 4 or 5 in each cell. So that leads me to believe that that's the case. If you do have seed that's not pelleted, then I would suggest sowing more than what I'm going to sow here. And let me just show you. I mean, all pelleted seed basically looks the same. And this is what it looks like, these tiny little white rounds. So Lobelia is surface sown, okay, so it does need some light in order to germinate. So I am just going to put, I say, 4 seeds in each cell, and I'm going to put them around the middle, but I will leave a little bit of space in between each one, so maybe about an inch. So I will take kind of like an inch square in the middle of each cell and do one seed in each corner of that imaginary square. Now this probably might be better using the toothpick method because they are still quite small, but I think I will be okay doing them like this. And that is it. They actually put the pelleted seeds that they sell into these little cushy envelopes here so that the seeds don't get crushed and that coating doesn't fall off. Now I'm going to take my label. I do my labels ahead of time for these guys. And I am just going to put it like this. I am going to spray all these cells. That will give us some good seed to soil contact. It will also moisten the coating so it starts to dissolve. And now I'm just giving it a very light coating, or not very light, kind of an average coating of vermiculite. And now I'm going to spray that vermiculite once again so that that gets moist as well. So that vermiculite will allow the light to get to the seeds, but it'll maintain a nice even moisture on the seeds while they're germinating. And now I am going to put this on my tray of water and let it soak for about 20 minutes so that it is nice and moist all the way through. Now on to the next variety, and basically they're all done in exactly the same way, so I'm going to speed this up. The one thing though that I do want to say is this Riviera Marine Blue is an old packet from last year. I purchased it last year. And the one thing with pelleted seed is that they tend to lose their viability more quickly than seeds that are not coated. So I'm not exactly sure how much germination I'm going to get from this packet. Sometimes I have fabulous luck and it seems like it doesn't matter at all, whereas other times I have pretty bad germination from seed that's been coated, that's been sitting around for a year or two. So I am going to probably put, I don't know how many seeds there are. I think there still should be quite a lot of seeds in here. Let me take a quick peek to see what I have here. These actually look a little bigger than the ones that I just sowed. So that's what these guys look like. They're yellow and they're slightly bigger. So I'm going to use up all of these seeds in these 4 cells for this one, sowing exactly the same way as I did for the Masterpiece Blue, and then I'll get to the Regatta Mix. If you don't have pelleted seeds, then I would probably be putting in a tiny little sprinkle of the seeds you do get right in the middle of each cell. And when I say little sprinkle, I mean little sprinkle, because you'll probably get, a dozen seeds in that tiny sprinkle. So here they are soaking, and now I am going to take them and place them on a heat mat. These germinate really well in temperatures between 22 to 26 degrees. This is a tray that has a heat mat underneath, and the heat mat is set to 24 degrees. Last year, I believe I started seeing germination on these after only a week, and they can take anywhere up to 15 days or so to start germinating.
Now let's backtrack to last year and take a look at how they grew in the weeks that followed. To make these seedlings' progress easier to follow, what I'll do is list their age in terms of weeks instead of a specific date. So last year I grew Regatta Mix and Riviera Marine Blue. Germination started at about 7 days for the Regatta Mix. The Riviera Marine Blue is a bit further behind, but there are a couple of barely visible seedlings in the bottom two cells. Once they germinate, the humidity dome comes off and they get taken off of the heat mat. At the 2 to 3 week mark, their first true set of leaves appeared, and that's when I started to feed them once a week with half-strength organic fertilizer. Here we are at 6 weeks, and you can already tell that one variety is a trailing type, while the other one is a more compact mounding type.
So here are the lobelia, and they are already flowering. As we can see, here's one little bloom. What I'm going to do is actually, I'm just going to give them a little haircut. I'm going to take maybe about an inch off the top, and they will branch out even more. I'm just going to grab a little clump and just take it off like that. So like this, like that. There. I'm not worried too much about taking all of the flowering bits, but this just lowers its height just a little bit. And I am going to do the same to this guy here. This is Riviera Marine Blue, and this one is shorter than the other one. It's not a trailer, but I'm just going to give this one a little haircut, probably not an inch, but maybe half an inch or so off the top there. Just to get it branching out. And you can see I'm not really going stem by stem. I'm just kind of giving it a little haircut, kind of like what I would do if I was deadheading it during the season. I might just trim it back a little bit. And there you go. So here is the Riviera Marine Blue Lobelia. Instead of potting this up into a plastic container and then repotting it up into the terracotta pot when I put it outside, I figured right now I would just pot them up right into the terracotta. This is a pot that's about 5.5 inches across. Because the spread on these is 6 to 10 inches, that's the recommended spacing when you plant them outside. I'm actually only going to put one in one pot, and that should fill up that pot nicely. So I'm just going to add some soil, potting soil, to this pot. And I have moistened the potting soil. And now I am going to just tip this over and take out one of the seedlings. Looks good. And put it in here and just top up the soil. Now you don't want to go all the way up to the top. You want to leave a little bit of room for watering. I generally try to keep maybe a half an inch or so of space between the top of the soil and the top of the pot. And now I'm just going to water it in with some half-strength fertilizer. This is half-strength fish fertilizer. And that's it. And now these are going to go back under the lights. The trailing varieties are going to be going into a large pot that I have outside. So they are not going to be going into a small pot that I can put under the lights. So I will be potting those up into these guys here. And here it is, the regatta mix. And obviously you can see it's a mix of colors, and I'm thrilled that I actually did get a nice mix here. Some white, some blue, purple in there. Not really sure what these guys are yet. And I am just going to put some soil here in this container and pop one of these guys out. Just have to be careful at the bottom here that you don't end up ripping anything out from one of the other plugs. Okay, I'm just gonna go like this, give it a little push, and out it comes. So here we are, and whoops, there we go. And same thing, just fill in around the edges. Perfect. And then give it a little drink of the fertilizer. And that is basically it. And these, again, are going to go under the lights.
Now it's past my last frost date and I'm hardening them off. Lobelia really can't tolerate any frost at all, so I don't put them out until at least a week or two after my last frost date. And for me, that's close to the middle to end of May. Now, I was a bit delayed with other garden jobs last year, but these guys waited around just fine. And now they are ready to go out into their permanent summer spots. And there you have it, from seed all the way to bloom. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you next time. Bye.